Hi, this is Jennifer Ramos. I'm a realtor from New Direction Realty. So I get asked by clients many times, can you please help me buy a house? Can you please tell me what the process is? So I made this long video to show you how it is to buy a house. I put it in 6 basic steps so you can understand. And what I'm trying to convey is that it's not as difficult as we think. So yes, there are concerns that most buyers have, and I will address them, as you can see, part of my presentation. But come with me and I'll show you my process, and hopefully you can find the right agent for yourself, or you can work with me to help you buy your house. So just give me a moment. We're going to start soon. So here we are back. I minimize myself so you guys can see the screen. And we're talking about the home buying workshop. Sometimes we call it a workshop. Sometimes we call it a seminar. Either way, we have our clients ask us questions. So if you do have any questions, put them below in the comments and I will answer that for you. So again, I'm Jennifer Ramos from New Direction Realty in the state of New Jersey in Essex County. Do I service other counties? Yes, I can, but I'm just letting you know where I'm actually located. Okay, so again, presented by me. So the first step that I take with my clients is telling them that you're going to own a home, and it could be in 6 basic steps, easy steps for you. Okay, so one is hiring an agent. Whether you hire me or hire somebody else, you need to know who this agent is and their credentials. How they're going to negotiate for you. What are their availability? Are they available to take you to see homes? Are they a buying agent or a selling agent? If they're a selling agent, they're mostly focused on selling homes. And if it's a buyer agent, they're mostly focused on helping buyers. So that's important because you want to make sure that your agent has enough time to take you out and show you homes. So after you've done the credentials, after you look them up online, probably you want to schedule some type of an appointment and talk to them face to face to see how they can help you. Once you have that appointment and your agent has, or the agent has sat down with you to explain how you guys are going to work together and in what capacity and how the agent or realtor is going to represent you, you will understand what they can do for you and how you're going to work together. Then after that, the agent will, or the realtor will say, we need to get you pre-approved if you have not been pre-approved yet. You can see from the bottom, the second one, we have the pre-approval and funding. So at this point, the agent will refer you to somebody that they may know from a lending institution. That could be a loan officer or several loan officers to help you obtain a pre-approval. What is a pre-approval? A pre-approval is just saying that they've looked at all your documentation, whether it's your W-2s, your pay stubs, your bank statements, and any other income that you have coming in to see if you do qualify and are able to buy a home at what price. So we need the prospect, the client, to understand that they need to work with a loan officer, give them the right documentation so that way they can start this pre-qualification into a pre-approval. Now, sometimes I have clients that say to me, Jennifer, can you take me out to see some homes before we get the pre-approval? I would say sure for the first time. But if you're looking at homes that are not in your price range, what happens is you're going to fall in love with a house that probably you cannot afford. So what does that mean? You will fall in love and you will always match that house to every home that you see. Now, that's kind of a waste of time because I'm wasting your time by going to show you houses that you cannot buy at the time. So by having a pre-approval, we have an idea of what you can buy, of your investment, and look within that price range. That would make life a lot easier, especially if there's so many different homes and different styles of homes and different price points of homes in the market. Once we have a pre-approval, we're ready. We're going to be going to look at houses. Probably we'll do it in the evenings if the client is not available during the day, or in the weekends where most of the homes have an open house, which makes it easier to go in, walk through, and also visit more homes that same day. After that process, it does take some time. It could take a week, or it could take a couple of weeks, or even more than a month to find the perfect home. Once we've looked at, and we go back to the first conversation that we had in the appointment where you as the client have told me everything of your wish list of what you would like to see in that property, and finally find a house in the area that you want to be in the school district that you want to be in, the house that you want to be in, or something similar to your wish list, then we can say we found the home, and now we will sit down again and talk about putting in an offer. Okay, so at this point we will say, okay, what am I comfortable, even though I am pre-approved for this amount of money, and probably I want to stay a little bit less to make my payments more comfortable, or no, I'm okay with putting this price point and I have additional money to add to that. Then we're looking to submit an offer. Okay, and we will, in this process, when we're submitting the offer, we'll sign the offer and we'll send it to the listing agent. The listing agent will show this offer to their client, which is the seller. The seller will look at the terms of the contract that we have decided on, and they will they will agree or disagree with our offer. So at this point, they can say they're not moving forward with us, or they can counter offer. So that means that when you send them the offer and they counter offer, that means they send that offer back to us, which is a new offer. So at this point, if you would like to move and accept what the seller is offering, it's a new offer. Or you can say, no, you know what, this offer doesn't work for me, I'm going to still keep looking at homes. So at that point, we're negotiating what are the best terms, not only for my buyer, and also seeing that we also have to look at the terms of the seller and meet them in the middle. Okay, so once that's done and we meet them in the middle and they accept our offer, and then they have it signed, it comes back to us, we acknowledge that now this offer, now it's under contract once the seller signs it. And we have 3 days of attorney review to make sure that our attorney, and I would always advise someone to have an attorney look at the contract, because if you don't have an attorney to look at the contract, then later on you can't negotiate with the seller. So at this point, we're letting our attorney look at the contract. They're also giving the contract to their attorney on the seller side to look at the terms of the contract so that it is still favorable for everyone. Once these 3 days are up, we're under contract. Okay, attorney review can last a little longer, but after these 3 days, we had the time to back out of the contract, whether it's the seller or the buyer. Okay, now after the 3 days, it's binding, and at this point, we're moving forward. Okay, so we're not negotiating anymore after we're under contract. We only are looking at the things that have to be done so we can get to the closing table. Okay, so what is a contingency? Contingency is where we can say, I no longer can buy this house because it doesn't work for my needs. So for an example, so after we have the contract binding, we might start doing inspections. So we're looking at all the inspections that need to be done in the home. So if there's things that are structural or any problems, we can get out of the contract if we don't agree how the house, in the condition the house is in, and we would like to buy another house that is more favorable for us, we have that contingency to get out of the contract. Now, another contingency would be the appraisal. If the appraisal comes in too low from what we offer, that means we have to fill that gap. We would have to pay the difference. So is it in the favor of the buyer to pay the difference, or can the seller lower the price? So this is something that I, as an agent, would have to negotiate for my buyer to see if they would agree or disagree, and then with this contingency, we could be out of a contract. Now, for that was 5, and now we also have another contingency, whereas let's say my client loses their job right before closing, or even at the day of closing, and they no longer can pay for this loan. A contingency would allow my client to get out of the contract, because if not, they would have to buy the house knowing that they wouldn't be able to pay for it. So we have 3 crucial, critical, let's say, contingencies to help mostly on the buyer side, not so much on the seller. And there's a lot more things that are involved. That's why you need your realtor to help you, or your agent to help you with this process. So at the end, once everything, all the due diligence, all the inspections, the appraisals, all the documents are signed, all the applications were already done, we're getting to the closing. If the buyer agrees with the terms of the closing statement and they are confident that they can bring the down payment and the closing costs to the closing table, and they are sure they're going to buy this house and they're not going to lose this job, we have a closing. At that point, all the documentations will be signed, and then the attorney will give the keys, or the realtor will give the keys to the buyer. Okay, so I summed it up in 3 easy steps. Of course, it could entail more, but I just wanted you to understand the process. Now, something that I always get asked is, can I afford to buy a home right now? We're talking about in 2023, right? We're at the end of 2023. We're into we're going to start the beginning of 2024. So is it the best time to buy right now? So we're looking at higher rates right now in 2023 at the last quarter, and some people are afraid. So depending on your financials, on how much you can afford, and if you can still feel comfortable making that monthly payment, this would be the best time to buy. Because as agents, we always say this, and the reason is that homes appreciate through time, and also rates fluctuate. Sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower. So if you buy at a higher rate right now, you can later on wait to see if it's lower and go ahead and refinance. But since houses keep appreciating, I've had clients say to me, wow, I should have bought my house in 2012, or I should have bought my house in 2015, because home have appreciated through time. So if you're thinking about buying a home, today is the best time to buy a property, a home. So this is the age-old question: own versus rent. Excuse me. Does that make sense? So is owning a house better than renting? Some people like to rent because they don't want to worry about cleaning or shoveling snow or doing the landscaping. Many times the rents are much lower than the mortgage payments and flexibility of moving. However, if we look at this graph here, we see own versus rent. The first one's owning a property. So when you buy a house at $350,000 and pay $1,850 per month for your mortgage, you're killing off that debt. Okay, we're not talking about taxes and insurance here because your 1,850 monthly payment stays consistent for 30 years. Now, insurance changes every year a little bit, and then taxes change also. They're not consistent. If you buy a home at $6,000 in taxes, over time it can go up. Now, we have a total of 30 years here to own. We have 667,800 that we've paid at 1,850 per month. We can say that after 30 years, we could make that money back. Okay, your own asset value will increase above this amount. So with time, you will be able to get that money back. Now we're going to look at rent. Okay, so we have a rental here of 1,850 per month. Depending in New Jersey where you're at, your payment could be a little bit lower, could be a little bit higher, and depending on how many rooms and bathrooms. But let's say for this example, that is a 2-bedroom apartment at 1,855 per month. And our landlord, we're paying their mortgage, right? We're helping them pay their mortgage. Now, after 30 years, we will also pay, if we stay at 1,855, even though rents go up, right? For 30 years, it will be 667,800 money that you paid out that you will not get back. You paid rent and you won't get it back. Okay. So owning versus renting is important because when you own a house, you're going to get that money back when you sell it and it has appreciated, or when you've lived there for a long time, you will get it back. But renting, you will not get it back. Okay. We've come to this chart, rent versus own. So we're looking at here at 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 30 years, how much you will be paying for rent. If you have $1,200 that you're paying per month, in 1 year will be 14,000, in 5 years will be 72,000, in 10 years will be 144,000, in 15 years will be 215, and in 30 years it will be $432,000 that you've already paid, but you're not going to get that money back. So I put different price points here monthly that we pay, and guess what? Through time, rent doesn't stay the same. It keeps going up. If we look at the last one on the bottom, it says $3,600 a month, right? That could even be a mortgage payment. There's some people that pay that kind of rent monthly. Within a 30-year span, if they keep renting, they will pay out $1,290,000 of that monthly payment over 30 years. So think about that. Do you want to save that money for retirement, or you just want to keep paying somebody else's mortgage? And by the time you're retired, you wish you would have had that money for yourself, right? So something to think about. I put this chart so that we can really see the numbers. Now, the second myth here is you should wait until the market improves. So no market is perfect, but I have people sitting on the sideline. No, I'm waiting for the prices to go down. I'm waiting for the rate to go down. They're going to look at every situation and they're going to be hesitant to take action because they don't think that the market's good enough to jump in, right? Plus we have the media, we have social media, we have people on YouTube telling us when would be the best time to buy, not to buy right now. But that's the kind of conversation that you need to have with your realtor after looking at your pre-approval, after looking at your financials, and see if this is the best time for you. Because I wanted to talk about is interest rates. So talking about interest rates, people have this fear that the interest rate is too high, right? Yes, your affordability goes down if the rate is high, but is it the best time to buy for me? So again, depending on what you've talked to your realtor and looking at your financials, you will see that even though this interest might be high, or you think might be high, actually mortgage rates remain remarkably low. So if you look back in the 80s, they were much, much higher. In the 90s, they were a little bit lower. In the 2000s, they were at 8%. In the 2008, they were at 4, 5, 6%. And then they started coming up a little bit. By 2018, 2019, they were around 6, 7%. Now we're seeing rates at 8%. Okay. However, what I tell most of my clients is that at one point they can refinance if the rate becomes lower. But this is a conversation also that you need to have with your loan officer to see if you are ready to go ahead and to do a refinance. Now, why buy now? It's an investment, okay? It appreciates over time. It builds value, and you pay this debt over time. Now, if you also have a home, right, you have stability and security. So you feel as part of the community. There's a sense of community. And then you can also customize your home. When you're renting, you might just keep the white walls for as long as you're there in the apartment. But once you own your own home, you can upgrade, you can customize, you can do anything you want to your home to make it look more beautiful. And of course, there's tax benefits associated with the interest that you pay yearly that you can deduct that, right? So there's these tax benefits, and guess what? You create wealth through time. Let's say 30 years from now, you'll have some money to retire. From the time that you bought your house to the time that you wanted to sell your house, let's say 30 years from now, that home will appreciate, and you can cash out, sell your home, get that money, and invest it wherever you want, or have it as a retirement fund. Okay, so let me move on here. As you can see, we slowly pay 15K, then 280, then 486K. Why did I put this here? Because the equity and the appreciation comes through over time. Okay, so now we have another myth. This myth, I can't buy a home because my credit isn't good. Let's say good enough, right? What is good credit? credit for many different people. 700 score for one person might not be good credit. Someone who has a score of 600 might think they have good credit. So credit is determined, right? When we're talking to a loan officer, they tell us how our credit affects what we can buy. Okay. But by saying that doesn't mean you can work on your credit. Okay. We can guide you. The loan officer can guide you and say, well, this is what your credit needs to be at. And then we can try to find some type of credit specialist, someone that we know a couple of people that can do credit and help you build your credit up. Because I feel like there's a mystery behind credit. What should I do? How can I have my credit score higher? Well, these are things that if you talk to a specialist, a credit specialist, they will help you. And actually is much easier than we think. So we shouldn't get bogged down because of that, because we assume that we don't have good credit. You need to talk to someone to guide you along the way, to prepare you also, to get you ready so that you have the credit that you need for the loan that you're acquiring to purchase the home. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So now, to secure financing and to get your pre-approval, how to select a lender and get pre-approval, we talked a little bit about this in the beginning. So if you want to work with your realtor, they might guide you and help you with one or two different loan officers. You can also go on your own and look for a loan officer, somebody from the family that's been helping your family, or somebody that you met that you feel comfortable with. However, sometimes us as agents like working closely with the loan officer and having a good relationship, so that this way we can get you from getting the house all the way to the closing table. But again, this is a conversation that you need to have with your realtor and see how comfortable you are with that loan officer, or what it is that you want to do to be able to get the process rolling and to have the best outcome, which is to get to the closing table. Okay. So now, I as an agent, or I as a realtor, I'm actually part of the National Association of Realtors. I will make offers and negotiate with the sellers. We're going to look at the terms. I've talked about this before in the beginning. We don't want to open a can of worms when we are already under contract. Besides the contingencies, so all the negotiation has to be done up in the beginning, right? So that it's just a smoother ride. And depending on who you work with and the skills that they have, if they're a good negotiator, they will help you to get that property for you, to get you into a home. So we also have here how we make an offer. So I work with a client and they will say to me, Jen, I want to go 50 under. Okay. So we have something that's called market price and market value. So many times we look and see the value of the home and say, well, you know what? I think it's $100,000 less, or $150,000, or it's not worth that price. However, price is not only determined by the seller, it's determined by supply and demand. So the more supply we have and the less amount of demand, the prices are going to go down. The more demand there is for a home and the low supply, right, means that the houses are going to be priced higher. So we need to fall in a place where you feel comfortable making an offer, but at the same time, it has to be reasonable to be able to compete with other buyers. Okay. Now the terms. So 6 basic categories address time and financial considerations. Okay. So we're looking at different terms. What are we going to keep? What it's going to go, the seller's going to state. What are we looking at in the property? What do we need fixed? So there's different things that we will address as part of these terms in the contract. And I did talk a little bit about the contingency, which means conditions that allow you to opt out of a deal if the house has a problem, so that you're not bound to buy the property when you do not like what you've seen so far as inspections or appraisal. You have the option to get out. Okay, so let me just move on here. So what to expect during the inspection process? Now, the inspector writes a report for the client. They're looking at every nook and cranny of that property. Okay, so they're going to make a huge report about everything the house needs. Okay, it could be the seller giving you a concession or a credit for those repairs, but they might not give you everything as a buyer that you want. Okay, so sometimes you have to negotiate that part, and you do that with your realtor and then come to common ground, and also with the attorney. What can you expect? So the list goes on and on and on. But things that you should be worried about is structural, not cosmetic, paint, tile, changing out cabinets, changing out a faucet. Those are all cosmetic. Changing out the floor. You're looking at something structural. Is there something wrong with the foundation? Is there something wrong mechanically? Is the roof caving in? These are things that we need to think about because we want to move into the property. We want it to be ready. So the inspection will let us know what is wrong with the property. We have closing day. Wonderful. We've taken care of the inspections. We also had the appraiser come out and take a look at the property and give us a true market value of the property to see if we can obtain the loan. The loan officers doing their due diligence, getting all the application, documentation, calling your job, making sure that you're still working, so that all this is wrapped up towards the end and you're committing to this loan. And at the end, we're sitting at the closing table only signing paperwork. So closing day. what happens on closing day, and how to prepare for it. So your attorney is going to tell you to bring a certified check. So we call it cash to close, but it's actually a check. Or you might have given it earlier to your attorney to have it wired to the title company. So there's different steps there that your attorney is going to help you along the way. Once you're under contract, we're coming along and making sure that everybody's doing their job: the appraiser, the inspector, the realtor, the title company, the attorney, and anyone else involved in the transaction. And then from there, we're here at the closing table signing paperwork, and now the keys are handed over to the client, right? Congratulations. Now you can go home and start packing your stuff to your new house. So that's a great way to understand this whole process. Now, of course, there's more logistic to all that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. If you would like to get in contact with me, my information is below, and you can go ahead and give me a call or schedule an appointment to see how we can help you. Thank you. This was Jennifer Ramos from New Direction Realty.